In the 1990s, the Ultra series was in a precarious position. It'd been nearly a decade since Ultraman 80 last aired in Japan, and even longer since the franchise had enjoyed consistent success on television. Super Eye Production, the very company that once helped define Japanese science fiction, had gone mostly silent. Ultra, for all of its intent and purpose, dormant. There were attempts to keep the spark alive. Ultraman The Adventure Begins, also known as Ultraman USA, was an animated collaboration with Hanna-Barbera, created specifically for the American market. Despite its colorful style and theatrical release, the project failed to gain traction. Likewise, Super Eye's Andromeda Special offered short bursts of nostalgia but lack of reach and impact to fully revive the brand. After these setbacks, Super Eye faced the difficult question: how do you bring back Ultraman in the way it feels relevant, not just for Japan, but for the rest of the world? The answer came from an unexpected place: Australia. Filming of Ultraman Towards the Future began in late 1990, and in the first time for the franchise history, the entire production took place outside of Japan, primarily on location across South Australia, specifically around the Adelaide rural region. This change gave the show a distinct visual identity, swapping Japan's city and forests for a wide-open outback landscape, sun-baked dirt roads, and open skies. The backdrop wasn't just for style, it also aligned with the show's core environmental themes and gave the kaiju battle more grounded, primeval feel. The production itself was under a tight pressure, with only 4 months to allocate principal photography. Communication between the Japanese and Australian team was ongoing hurriedly. Creative decision, technical terminology, and even basic scheduling often required translator and compromises, but still both crew worked hard to deliver something unified. Most indoor scenes specifically involved with Yuma HQ were shot in a bunch for efficiency, while outdoor kaiju scenes had to be carefully timed around the weather and actor safety and limitation of the suits. One of the most defining challenges came from the suit work, specifically Ultraman Grady himself. Initially, the action was supposed to be using puppetry instead of a full bodysuit, but the effect looked far too stiff, so the production pivoted back to traditional suitmation. The first great suit was constructed from thick rubber, with integrated glove and boots and a detachable helmet piece, a major break from the Japanese design tradition. It looked solid, but the movement was too stiff and trapped a ton of heat inside it. After early test shoots proved to be too restrictive, and the team created a spandex-based suit, prioritized flexibility and heat relief. This version became the standard version for the series. While thinner and less detailed, it let the suit actor Steve Apps move more natural. Still, even with the new design, at least one case of heat exhaustion occurred during shooting. The decision to use spandex was more practical, but in the end, it helped give Grade a slicker, more streamlined look that stood out in Ultra history. The kaiju suit faced the same issue. The most monsters were designed and built in Japan, then shipped to Australia, which meant everything had to be made efficiently, transport, and sometimes multi-use. The show's primary villain, Goodis, appeared in multiple forms, each more grotesque than the last, which his final form was Riding Tendril and Alien Monster is iconic, but also the hardest suit to wear due to weight and limited visibility. Other creatures like Dudanja had limited facial articulation, including moving jaw, which was rare for a show with such modest budget effect. Monsters like Gurodon, Boga, and UFO were made using a mix of recycled materials, spliced molds, and repainted compartments. The show's final boss, Kalis, was internationally designed to be simple and stable, making climatic scenes easier to choreograph, and filming on a compressed schedule. Most kaiju fights were shot outdoors, with minimal miniatures and scaled down pyrotechnics, focusing on the camera team to get creative with low angle lighting and editing to hide the damage or unfinished parts of the suit. Despite all of these constraints, the production team still managed to give every kaiju its own distinct silhouette and present, even if they had to build half of it out of foam, paint, and hope. Adding to the complexity of the series, it was shot in English first, with Japanese dubbing added later, that gave the dialogue a different rhythm, often shaping the scene to be closer to a Western sci-fi than a traditional tokusatsu show. While this gave Ultraman Great a tone all of its own, it also made syncing post-production audio more challenging, especially for the Japanese release in years later. In the end, Ultraman Towards the Future was a bold experiment. The production was underfunded, understaffed, and operated across two different film cultures. Somehow, it made it. In spite of everything working against it, it carried a voice, a tone, a look that no other Ultra show has quite replicated. With the production complete and a new Ultra was ready to step into the spotlight, Ultraman Towards the Future was finally set to debut. But for all the behind-the-scene ambitions and the international coordination, the real test came down to the show itself, its characters, story, and whether or not this new take on Ultraman could actually connect with modern audience. At the center of the effort was the cast of characters that reflected the show's unusual origins. A Japanese hero reborn through an Australian lens, a new host that felt more grounded, human, and science team that straddled the line between familiar tokusatsu tropes and something more globally minded. So let's pretty much go on and talk about the characters of the show. Let's start with our protagonist, Jack Shindo. It's odd to say, but he's pretty much the jack of all trades of the group. Kind of like Daigo from Ultraman Tiga, but the one big difference is that Jack is genuinely more charming, which I truly think that like a good percentage of it's his Australian charm and that accent. But having him be at least an astronaut, that means that he needs to be kind of smart. And actually the show presents it really well. And having part of his backstory of becoming the host of Great is losing his friend when Goodis and Great fought on Mars, gave him at least some sort of an edge, while also being conflicted in the first half of the show about his role of being the host of Great and using it to actually have Great and Jack talk more was like a really great idea. I genuinely love how the show handled Jack. I think he's a really fun character that, doesn't fully evolve, and he's kind of, from the moment the show starts with him as the host of Ultraman to the end of the show, nothing really fully evolves, just with Jack just being fully onto the idea of him being great, being the host of Great, but that's really it. But outside of his interaction with Great, I really enjoyed his entire interactions with the rest of the Yuma cast. I really like the way that he and Echo interact. It seemed they're really in love. They seem to be really close friends still. They have great tension, and you can clearly see those two can actually be close, while he and Lloyd genuinely have really fun interactions, specifically episode 3 being the highlight of their interactions, while he and Arthur kind of batting head in the first half of the show, or at least the first half of the show, and having Jack at first getting under Arthur's skin, but then later on you see Arthur actually growing closer to him and kind of appreciating what Jack brings to the table, while he and Charles are really fun because they're not butting heads, they're just trading Aussie sass with each other, while he and Kim never really got a shit ton of interactions, but they seem to be really close friends. That's nice. Overall, Jack as a protagonist is great. He's genuinely the jack of all trades of the show, so it feels that he doesn't have really a bigger distinct role outside of being the host of Great, but the show made him feel different enough. Yeah, episodes that are not focused on him made him feel like he's pretty much the generic Ultraman protagonist, but it works. I don't know. And just, I loved the rest of the cast and the rest of the members of Yuma. Like Arthur Grant, the commander of the team, was genuinely fun. He's just a crazy old man. But he was a genuinely really fun character that at first he and Jack really batted heads and he felt like Jack is untrustworthy. But as the show went on, at least in the first half, you can really see that he gets to understand Jack and he gets to actually see where Jack is coming from, which was great. And he really starts to understand the methods of his team. Here is the thing, the one thing that I can say that I didn't really like about his character, that sometimes he gets reset too much, that he needs to relearn something about his team. But you can clearly see that he's a person that cares about his team and the people that he's commanding over. He literally almost told Jack that he's sorry. But he never said that because, I don't know, he wants to at least appear as an authoritarian force. But I think the one thing that genuinely made me really like his character was his actor. Genuinely, I think from all of the cast, he's the actor that really felt the most committed to his role. He understands that, oh, it's a tokusatsu show, it's a show for kids, so I would take it seriously enough. But damn it, he takes it seriously, but he understands that it's a joke, which is fucking great. I really enjoyed Arthur. While Lloyd Wilder was a genuinely fun character, not only him being the second in command, being the guy that's always going to be on the field no matter what, and the person that kind of centers everybody on the team, he's still not a stick in the mud. He still gets to joke around. Yeah, sometimes in a weird precarious situation of learning that the seed of the monster that you want to explode can harm the environment and you want to ask them for dinner. That's a weird thing, but it worked. He and Jack had great interactions. He and Kim had great interactions. I think Lloyd and Charles have really funny interactions too. While also Jean Echo was genuinely fucking fun. Not only her being the love interest for Jack, and you can clearly see there is tension and you can clearly see that they are very much in love and they really care for each other, but also they didn't made her just, I don't know, a copy of Wilder or a copy of Charles. She's very much a character of her own. She's not only a smarty McSparty pants, but also she's a badass. She's an engineer and she can fight. She's sassy. Yeah, it's Australian, so it kind of makes sense. But she feels like a character of her own, while Charles was genuinely fun. He was kind of the nerd, and yeah, he was a lot of the comedy. He was a part of a lot of the comedy relief of the show, which the show kind of needed. But here's the thing, they never really played him to be the nerd stereotype. Yeah, he's the real smarty McSmarty pants of the team, but he's still outgoing. He's still from time to time goes on mission. He's from time to time goes on the fucking plane and tries to shoot at the monsters. That was really fun. You can really see that he's a nerd, but he's a nerd that gets shit done, which was fucking great. While Kim Xiaomin was pretty much the badass of the team, because every team needs a badass, and it was cool that it was the female, but I did really like her. I did enjoy the time that the show actually got to actually focus on her. And hey, she got 4 episodes that she was kind of the primary focus on, and all 4 of them really relied on the main themes of the show, which worked really well. There was another member of Yuma that pretty much joined in literally 2 to 3 episodes before the finale. I don't know, I will play the Scott Steiner clip. He's fat! Overall, I genuinely love the main cast of Yuma. They never felt like carbon copy of each other. They never really felt like carbon copies of existing archetypes in Ultra, but real people that go to 9 to 5. They're not miserable about it, they bicker, but in the way of this very Aussie sassy kind of way, which worked. They were really a group of really fun characters. outside of them, we actually did get to really know, like, not really know, but we get to at least have some interactions with Ultraman Great, which I genuinely loved that he actually got to be a character, which you can say is it's one of the things that actually Ultraman Towards the Future did before every other Ultra seasons, outside of seasons that, let's say, the Ultra kind of became the protagonist. It's pretty much kind of like a human form type of protagonist. We never really get to see the host and the Ultra really interact. You can kind of say that Towards the Future really started it off, and I genuinely liked it. Yeah, he didn't do a lot, and he was kind of like, oh, I'm the stern, Ultra Warrior, and I know everything kind of type of character, specifically with the way that the voice director directed the voice actor for Great. But I genuinely loved what they were doing with Great. And also, like, pretty much using the 3-minute time limit and kind of like semi-giving it a bigger excuse than just he got beat up too much, and that is the pollution of the earth means that he can't last in this form for 3 minutes is genuinely ingenious. Like, really? Like, right, that's nice. While Goodness, him being an overarching villain was, like, neat. Mainly because it's never really been done as much around that time. Like, I think the biggest one that we can all look to is Yapul, which, kind of funny, both of them were overarching villain for the show that died halfway through the show, which kind of, after you discover that the show was originally supposed to be 6 episodes, explain why he died in episode number 6. And the show kind of was stretched after that. Like, I wish that he was a bigger kind of commanding present. I think that if the show could have changed a few things and kind of restructured some episodes, it would have worked, because I genuinely like Goodness. He get to actually talk. Yeah, I know it's in the finale fully, at least in episode 6, but it was like genuinely cool. He looked cool. He was a really interesting and semi-unique looking villain. Like, we don't really get those types of villains anymore. So now that we have met the crew, Jack, surprisingly lovable all-rounder, the rest of the Yuma with their oddball dynamic, even Great himself as more than just a silent partner. It's worth looking at these characters are actually used across the show, because while the series is short, there are a few standout episodes where everything kind of clicks. The character work, the tone, the action, the themes. They don't just tell a story, they show us what Ultraman Great was trying to be. So, let's take a look at some episode, at least for me, that stood out. Because the show is like 13 episodes long, I can't just talk about half the show. I'm just going to choose 3. The reason that I picked most of them are just memorable episodes. Yeah, I know one of them is episode number 1, but still, I love the pilot of the show. It mainly served to us pretty much as a barrier to entry to this earth of this world kind of lives in a semi-neo frontier, which is kind of funny. An earth that started already exploring out of space. We get to meet Jack and his friend on a mission on Mars, where both of them lost their life as casualties from the fight between Goodness and Great, which Goodness lost and spread his seed all over Earth, making kaiju go crazy and making them wake up, while also showing us how odd but yet charming the cast is, while showing us how cool and mysterious Jack can be, and how cool a hero Great is. And episode 4, where Lloyd and Jack visit the most Aussie town in Tokusatsu. But after a few tornadoes that were attacking the town, Yuma was sent out to investigate, which was Lloyd and Jack, which they get to meet some of the locals, and a man that actually tells them that the tornado and those attacks came from a creature called Dudenja, and he helps them to set up a trap for the ancient creature that got corrupted by the seed of Goodness. And with the help of Great, they get to purify him and set him free. And for the final one is episode 11, when a man discovered that Yuma holds a spaceship in their Area 47 and take his role as psychiatrist to brainwash and control people to actually storm Area 47, which was a successful storming of a secret government area that holds maybe some alien life forms, just saying, to take the spaceship and help humanity to evolve. He also kidnapped Echo to help him get in, and Jack pretty much infiltrated to rescue her. And by the end, with the help of great and Arthur, which was a great character moment for him, pretty much talking to the psychiatrist and telling him that the way you're doing it doesn't help humanity evolve. Humanity shouldn't evolve by force, but by nature itself. They should let in nature just do whatever it needs to be. To be honest, this show was genuinely goddamn fun. I don't want to talk about every episode because I feel like me sitting down and just talking about every episode will be kind of too long for this show, because here's the thing. Ultraman Great is a fun show. It's not supposed to be taken fully seriously, but it was still fun. And I don't know if you will enjoy hearing me rambling about 13 episodes. But I genuinely loved every episode in every goddamn way. It really was fun as shit. And I fucking love the kaiju fights. I love how the kaiju look, which it is kind of funny they somehow got to capture and train the Australian wildlife to be a part of the show. I already talked about fights, already talked about the kaijus. Let's actually talk about the visual and sound departments of the show. Let's start with the sound department, with the music. The OST for the show that didn't really have that much money somehow had the money to procure an orchestra. Was actually surprising, and even more surprising that the OST is actually fucking great. It's kind of quote-unquote bland and Star Warsy, but I don't know, it kind of gives the show this really fun, unique touch that I genuinely enjoyed. While the OP, which we have two, one international and one for the Japanese release, are two different stories. The international one is just Star Wars. You need to listen to pretty much the international release and then the Star Wars theme, and it's oh my god, that's a copy. I am actually scared. I'm going to cut this entire part very short because I am scared for Disney to copyright strike me for using Star Wars. I don't know. While the Japanese version is a fucking bop. Oh my god, I genuinely loved it. I love that it's just a Showa era theme Ultra song that is sung by a bunch of kids and Shin Hayata from Ultraman Tiga. When I discovered it, I was fucking laughing my ass off. It was fucking great. I love it. There was an insert song for the both I think it was mainly just for the international version that never got used. The instrumental version got used, but not the one with lyrics. And for the ending song, the international version is just fine, while the Japanese version still continues to be a fucking bop. I genuinely enjoyed it. I don't know. It's just I am quite surprised that it just didn't continue to have Shin Hayata from fucking Tiga continue to do songs for Ultra. Why the fuck did they do it? Now let's talk about the visual department of the show. I don't know why, but I just genuinely love how this show looks. It feels like a weird time capsule that kind of sits in between the Showa and the Heisei era. Yeah, it looks cheap, but there is something endearing to it. I just wish that the fights would have, looked better. Let's start talking about the suit with Great himself. Him being made fully out of spandex was an interesting choice. That how much it wasn't actually to set him off the crowd, it was way more for handling the Aussie heat, but it worked. They pretty much took an already pretty much rehashed design with another men Nissan and actually made him look different. The white material of the spandex actually made him feel and look more unique. He wasn't just another red and silver giant, he was an actual, like, different version of Money-san. Like, the head sculpt looked completely different. The idea that the head and the body, or the bodysuit and the face were two completely different parts that weren't attached to one another was completely cool. I really love that the pretty much design of it, how much like the gauntlets that he had on, kind of like the cuffs for the arms, were odd, but I genuinely really liked it. I like that his color timer was the little necklace that Jack wears. I genuinely liked it. It was weird that like Jack never really had like a special beam type of move. I don't know. While most kaijus were really memorable, with the main baddie Goodis looking like the show is a couple of ratings off from being a rated adult only movie. But like he had a really cool design, and like specifically his like second form where he's kind of crackling from lava and there is a bunch of light up parts really looked cool. While like the rest of the kaijus of the show were like really memorable, really cool. Dudarjan being pretty much probably the most memorable kaijins from the show, with pretty much like 75% of his entire silhouette and his entire design is his face. But it's cool, like he was like pretty much kind of like a dog. Like I don't know, he was the first real dog-themed kaiju. Guraku-kan looking like a damn demon, UFO being a UFO with fucking eyes. While with Majaba, I was actually quite surprised that they somehow got to tame an Aussie creature for this episode. While Gigasaurus, which I remember him to be a really cool like design, but I was actually quite surprised that he was pretty much the first non-suited kaiju in pretty much the show's history, at least for a good while. When the production wrapped in 1990, things weren't looking great. The show had faced a rough road. Despite being fully produced 13-episode Ultra series, it didn't actually air in its home country of Australia. Local network passed on it entirely, likely unsure how to market a Japanese-Australian hybrid tokusatsu series to their audience. So, Ultraman Towards the Future sat on the shelf, completely unseen. That probably should have been the end of the story, but somehow it wasn't. In 1992, the series caught an unexpected second win. Fox TV in the United States picked it up, airing it as a part of their syndicated lineup. From there, the show quietly started finding an audience. It may not have made headlines, but it connected with people enough to keep it spreading. Great also got a VHS release and laserdiscs in a handful of countries: Canada, Hong Kong, UK, Latin America, and others. Sometimes as a fully dubbed length episode, others as compilation movies. Over time, it developed a bit of a cult following, especially among viewers who were seeing an Ultraman for the first time. There were even some early signs of Subaraya having plans for Ultraman Great having a second season, mainly connecting him to the rest of the Ultraman universe. The show also received a tie-in video game that was released for the SNES in 1993, simply titled Ultraman Towards the Future. It was a traditional one-on-one fighting game, which very much in the style of the original 1991 SNES Ultraman game, which just with a slightly expanded kaiju roster, more polished visual, and mostly all of the kaijus from Great's show rather than OG Mani-san show. It wasn't a huge hit, but for fans at the time it was a rare piece of official merch. And also, fucking James Rolfe, the fucking angry video game nerd, got to play it. I still need to say it, it's like really cool. Unfortunately, that was about where the merchandise ended. A full toy line was planned, likely a partnership with Bandai and DreamWorks, but ultimately it fell through. Aside from a handful of collectible and occasional appearance in fanbook or cards, Ultraman Towards the Future didn't receive the same long-term product support that other Ultra got. And yet, despite it all, Great managed to leave a mark. Its strongest connection between Ultra and Host, its episodic but thematic storytelling, and its environmental focus, these are things that are core parts of the Heisei era, specifically in Ultraman Tiga, Dyna, Gaia, a lot of Cosmos, how much, yeah, you can kind of say specifically for Tiga and Gaia, because Konaka Chiaki worked on both shows, which it is funny that this is the first time of the episode that I actually get to mention him, but that was great. And even if it's not the most polished, most remembered entry, it doesn't really matter. And sometimes that's more than enough. So, for Ultraman towards the future, or Ultraman Great today, he's not in the forefront and center of Subarai's current lineup, but he hasn't been forgotten. The character still appears in a lot of the franchise's back half. A lot of the kind of new gen Ultras, when they get the gimmicks, they still get great themed material, great themed gimmicks. He still appears in the Ultra Encyclopedia, and particularly, he still get to actually be a character inside of the universe, showing up for the first time after the show ended in the Mega Monster Battle movie, and then pretty much became a regular of the crossover Ultra Galaxy fight, where he's pretty much featured from pretty much appearance to appearance. He gets more and more spotlight and gets more and more time to shine, specifically towards from Destined Crossroads to the regular special, which reminds longtime fans of the franchise global reach. While Great never really headlined another series, his role as pretty much the first live-action international Ultra of the Heisei era earned him quite a bit of lasting respect. He remains as a symbol of a time when the franchise dared to take ginormous risks, and in small important ways, he still stands tall among giants. Ultraman Great is one of those shows that feel like it slipped through the cracks, but somehow still matter. Not the most polished, and definitely not the most controversial, but what it is brave. The show was born from uncertainty, created by two countries speaking different creative languages, trying to find common ground under the same red and silver banner. And in the awkward, sometimes clumsy effort, they made something honest. Great dared to do what few Ultra shows had done before. Leave home, not just in story, but in spirit. It stepped into a new land with a new voice, new challenges, and an entirely cultural rhythm. It wasn't always clean, it wasn't always graceful, but it stepped forward. But it was a step forward, a necessary one. It was the prototype for a global Ultraman long before the world was ready to hear what it has to say. Even through the show stumbled, shortcut, underfunded, and nearly forgotten, it still carved a place in the larger story. It helped to bring Ultraman back to TV. It helped fund the next generation. And for some people in the world, it was their first Ultra show. Not as a god or a space warrior, but a quiet protector in the Australian sun. A slightly offbeat, slightly alien, but still fighting to do what's right. Ultraman Great reminds us that even when the odds are stacked, even when the tools aren't perfect, even when your voice is different, you still deserve to try. That creativity isn't about fitting in, it's about showing up anyway, reaching out across borders, through language, through time, and hoping someone, somewhere, would understand. For all its flaws, somehow did. Thank you, Ultraman Great, for showing us that taking the first step into the future is still worth it, even if the path isn't clear. Thank you, and I want to thank you all for the time I spent with you, for the return of Legacy of Ultraman. So, thank you very much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please smash that like button. If you also haven't watched my the premiere of Why Do I Love with Samurai Sentai Shinkancher, please watch it because it was a great episode and I really enjoyed it. So, and if you want to support my channel, please subscribe to it. Help your subscribe button achieve its true goal of becoming a subscribed button by smashing it. Don't forget, you're the only one that can prevent forest fires. Thank you for watching the video and have a great rest of your day. Bye bye!